as you know, there were two sessions, and it was quite interesting because we had some telecom companies, some banks, data companies, gaming companies, and so some people who've got a very in-depth knowledge and understanding of cyber risk and in their environment. And then we had other people who perhaps were less involved with cyber risk from a business perspective, but nevertheless were very keen to understand what the issues were and how they might want to tackle them in their day job. Well, I suppose we posed 4 questions to the group, and questions coming back, or the answers coming back to those questions, were very much along those lines. So it started off with what is the role of the risk manager? And one of the concerns was, how do you make sure that the responsibilities for the different elements of cyber and cyber risk are properly understood and managed through all the organisation? And so if you have the IT people dealing with the IT element, the legal dealing with the legal element, engineering dealing with product development and the like, they're dealing with different elements of cyber risk. And so you have that opportunity, that responsibility within the organisation for somebody to be accountable for pulling those threads together. Yes, indeed. When having dealt with that first issue of the responsibility and that sort of linkage communication thing, the next element was, how do the threats sort of present themselves, and what are the main risks within the different organisations? And of course, as I've said, because there were different types of organisations around the table, they all had a different take on that. So for some it was very much around data privacy and concerns there. For others it would be around product and product integrity. Products that go wrong in the marketplace, either accidentally or because of some external party deliberately influencing from a cyber perspective, a digital perspective, and kind of major consequences. And so it depended upon the type of organisation as to which threat was seen to be the greatest. But I suppose the overarching issue there was the reputation risk. And it depended very much upon what your business was as to which was the greatest threat to the reputation of the company and the reputation of the individuals within the organisation. Well, it's a very good point, because that was talked about quite a lot and probably could have been a subject all of its own. The insurance response seems to be interesting. A lot's been written about the availability of insurance in the cyberspace, and that's been available for some considerable time with quite a big take-up in places like the USA. But one or two of the comments around the table suggested that it was difficult for buyers to engage with brokers and insurers in order to come up with good solutions, even in the data privacy area. And other roundtablers were talking about, well, they don't trust the cyber risk quite, but trust the engagement between the cyber policy and the existing liability and first-party policy. So one of the members was talking about how they'd moved their errors and omissions program to be really their frontline cyber risk for them, but we're now looking to adopt a more detailed cyber policy. But that was going to take maybe the best part of 2 years in order to get to a position where they felt that the information had been shared properly and the underwriting and claims response was robust, and robust enough to deal with her business needs. Well, I think the risk manager in many companies is uniquely placed to deal with this, because they naturally sit across the different internal silos, the different demarcation lines, and so they can help the different parties understand the interaction of cyber risk across the organisation. And so we tend to look at the risk manager, and the title risk suggests it's a downside risk, but of course it isn't. I mean, there's a risk opportunity in all these things, because the way that cyber manifests itself in big organisations with supply chain and with customers gives rise to a really strong opportunity for risk managers to engage with commercial sales teams, with defensive teams, if I use it that way, for things that maybe are being looked at adversely in companies, and see how you can look at risk allocation in a positive way. Risk allocation, so you can go to the companies, go to the customers, and either embrace cyber risk and charge for effectively taking on somebody else's cyber risk, or find ways to mitigate it in a contractual way and do that to enhance the sales process for the organisation. And that's something often that people don't look at.